Live from the Asbury Park Music Foundation, it's One More with Brian Erickson.
You ready? You ready?
I'm not even going to try this.
You didn't even.
They do this to me every week. Welcome to One More. I'm your host, Brian Erickson. Each week, we bring in two new guests. Each week,
We bring in two new
Two
guests.
new guests. We sit them down. We find out why they do what they do. This week, of course, is no exception. We have Kenny Bieber, Elyse Jankowski, and musical guests Dust of Days. But for the first time all season, Chris Dubrow and Jesse McCormick together again.
Well, together again behind the table. We had one episode where it was the Telegraph Hill takeover.
Yeah, but this feels like,
right. We're
yeah, it feels like
everyone's
home.
back.
We're having a great time.
We're talking over each other.
Yeah.
Are we having a great
time?
time?
I was just kind of trying to...
You're trying to bump up positivity. I didn't notice the under eye. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really tired, so I thought that this would make my eyes look not that.
How's that working out for you?
I don't know. You
Matt?
tell me.
Well, we can have the viewers. So you can comment below.
You comment below. Tell me if I look
Or
tired.
call the 800 number.
Oh, yeah. So 1-800-259-PISS
Put the 1-800
was the last
number at the
they
bottom
had.
of the
Can we
screen.
get a 1-800? It's not that hard to get a voicemail these days. You can just make a Google voicemail.
Can
Can
you
we
really?
do that?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh my God! Call in.
Can it be
Call in.
1-800-111-MORE?
That's good.
That would be perfect.
I think we got it.
That's really good.
I heard Kenny, he said he likes it.
All right. Well, if Kenny likes,
He likes it. You like the Kenny.
it's great.
Yeah.
So how's everybody doing?
Good.
Now that we're
all back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all back.
I'm feeling
from-
great. I'm
Yeah.
hanging out. I'm exhausted.
I am too.
We all had busy weekends. I played
Yeah.
a show. You
I
played,
played a show,
You were at a show.
I ran a show.
You ran a
I
show. You
man-
played
I
yesterday.
manage those shows, you know.
You're
Like, I
the
do manage them.
you're the guy. You're the point man.
Well,
for
when
those
somebody
shows.
needs more keyboard, then needs a little more keyboard,
Right.
then hates to be that guy and needs a little less keyboard, like that's me. I have to
be the guy.
I have to touch the faders.
The secret
and
isn't
move
just
them
touch
up
them.
or
You don't
down.
do anything about them. I have
Yeah,
seen,
you just put your finger on them.
And
You
then
don't
they're like, yeah,
actually
that's
move
good.
them.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. It's all an illusion.
I want to do a song where in the bridge, like of the song, you just be like, "Can I get a little more reverb? Can I get a little more reverb?" Until the sound guy turns on the reverb, and you're like, "No, that's just the lyrics of the song, man. I didn't actually need more reverb." And just really fuck with the sound guy, because those guys are not guys that are gonna be like petty or spiteful at all.
No, not at all.
Why would they be?
Not at all. You played.
I did.
Right?
Mill Hill Basement with puppy grease.
Wow.
How is Puppy Grease?
Good.
How's Mill Hills? Is it still the dirtiest room of all time?
I mean,
Chris,
it
we
was...
played there.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, no, please.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say not a lot's changed in the last like 6 months.
Apparently, all the equipment was new, and it all sounded really great. For the first time, I could hear myself in the mix of anything, really.
Well, the thing about Puppy Grease is that I feel like there's at least 17 people on stage, and like 4 of them, I don't know if they're plugged in. I don't know if they're playing their instruments.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. How many trombone players do you guys have these days?
Just the one.
Just the one? I
Yeah.
feel like you've definitely had at least 2.
Well,
for
just
shows.
she mean just the one section with 8 trombonists.
Yeah, there's a trombone
Yeah.
section, of course.
Was that not clear?
Obviously.
Okay. Yeah.
Now me, I love a good trombone section. That's me.
Anyway, I played for my first mosh pit this weekend.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'm punk rock now.
Can people mosh to Puppy Grease?
Yeah,
When are we
they got
getting
lit
Puppy
to
Grease?
bike.
When are we getting
Never.
Puppy Grease?
Never.
On the show?
Never.
What do you mean never?
What's
Oh,
his,
they're
what's-
gonna just show up one day.
I always forget lead
and
singer's
then
name.
Oh, Mark.
Mark. I always forget his name
The
because
poet laureate of Asbury Park.
to me it just sounds like John Malkovich. That's all. Whenever I hear him speak, it's just like this guy's Malkovich.
Yeah, it's a
There
little.
was definitely an interesting night in New Hope where he played with Brian Molnar, who
Okay.
we've had on the show before, and Molnar, you know, just sort of this quiet, like consummate professional
Cowboy,
and
yeah.
like. You know, Mark is literally like at the end of every song just throwing
Yeah,
the
he still
lyrics
does that.
off his music stand, and at the end, he turns to their sets bumped up against each other, and he just goes, "Oh yeah, man, you need to borrow the music stand?" And Molnar just kind of looks down at the pile of paper and looks back up, and he's just like, "No," and just holds the stare just a little long. And, as Mark, bends over.
He's already bent
gathers.
over whenever
Yeah.
he sings, just kind of, gathering his things.
It was a very cowboy-ish
Yeah, I
moment.
mean, Brian,
I like that.
doesn't he wear, a duster when he plays?
And
also-
he wears chaps.
Can I
he's
start
got
wearing,
the whole thing.
Like a long jacket.
Okay,
It's not like
yeah.
a trench coat. It's a duster. Those are two
Yeah.
different things.
No, I know what a
don't
duster
think
is. I
he-
have a duster, but it's just a long cardigan, really.
Yeah, more. There's a lot of different definitions of duster. We're not here to talk about dusters. We're here to talk about our guest. Who's our first guest this week? I don't think we decided.
he is the head. Are we doing this?
Yeah,
I guess
we're
so,
doing
yeah.
this.
Yeah, I think it's.
I was
Yeah, it's about
segueing.
time.
I'm
We
scooting over this way.
bullshitted
Well,
enough.
So
I
that the
did
guest seat is
mention
open.
we did name the guests,
Yeah.
despite you
No, I
doing.
mean, who was up first? I just
Oh,
didn't
Kenny's
know.
up first.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So he's the head of K94 Photography and an upstart music journalist. Let us welcome Kenny Bieber. How are you? What's going on?
Thank you for coming on. You chose a long one.
I like that.
But
Take
I
the
think
long
you
way,
can get through.
yeah.
You're skinny enough. You can probably sleep through.
For now, I am. For
Yeah.
now.
We've got the most slender guest this week.
You know.
Yeah.
We gotta represent. We gotta stick together. It's
Yeah,
hard, it's hard
slender
out here for
people
all
stick
of us.
together.
So I actually brought some gifts.
Oh my god!
So
whoa.
as you guys
Oh,
know,
get
I've taken
outta
photos
here.
of all of
Oh,
you.
my
So
goodness.
Jesse, this is for you.
Let's show them to the
Brian,
cameras.
this is for you.
What?
It looks a little familiar, right?
Wow,
And
yeah,
last but definitely not least, Christopher, this
But
is for you.
definitely Lise.
This was my profile picture for a few
It
months.
was.
This
I-
was
that was your
also
profile
mine,
picture.
yeah.
I use this whenever I talk about my solo bolo sets.
There you
This is
go.
me
Because you're
playing-
actually
there
playing
you
a
go.
guitar.
This is me playing these 6
I know.
note solo.
Not
to
upright,
Stacey's
right?
Mom
Not the-
by Fountain
Stacey's
of Wayne.
Amazing.
That's good. Wow.
I mean, if you're gonna cover any song by Fountain of Wayne, it's gotta be
That's the only.
Stacey's Mom.
No, I will. We've talked
Sing
about
to the
this.
bottom.
I am.
Are we gonna be in the way of?
It's
I
fine.
hope so. I sure do hope so.
Hide me behind you two, because that's kind of how this goes, right?
Why don't we do that? 'Cause second-
Gotta make it
there's a lot of
democratic.
negative space in my.
Alright,
It's great
sweet.
with negative space, but there's a lot of it.
Yeah. Oh, cute.
You all right, Chris?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just gonna.
Oh, we're gonna drape the shirt.
There we
over.
go.
What's that shirt say?
You.
Oh boy.
Kenny, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for these photos.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
It's
that's
awesome.
really
I'm
great.
just really excited to be here.
Okay, Dad.
I mean, somebody has to keep the peace.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So how's it going? How you
It's
doing?
been going. It's been going very well. It's been a very exciting, busy month, so it's been going great.
Like what? What have you been up to?
I've been doing a lot of writing. I've been doing a lot of photography, as
Well,
expected.
yeah.
So yeah, you know.
Okay.
So definitely been a lot of that, but it's very exciting to see a lot of new work come together and finally see the light of day.
Excellent. Well, I mean, I think I speak for right. We're all fans.
Oh,
of,
thank you, thank
all
you.
fans of the work.
I'm
Yeah,
greatly.
Like Chris is like, nah,
Yeah,
nah.
he's-
Well,
he's-
I mean,
he's
I
indifferent
wouldn't
about
call
it.
myself a fan.
Sometimes I want to do the bit,
per
but I'm also
se.
like,
A
let's let the
casual admirer.
conversation keep going.
Okay.
It's cool.
But yeah, I think we can all safely
Thank you,
say we're
thank
all
you.
fans of your work.
Thank you so much. I'm all a fan of you guys, so it equals out.
Yeah. So now that you're on OneMore, welcome officially
Thank
to
you, thank
Asbury
you.
Park.
I know. I'm.
This
This is the
welcome
gate.
to
made-
This is
I
the
made
gate.
my
the
big
gate.
We are
break
the
now, guys.
gatekeepers of Asbury Park. It's
You know,
me, you, and Jesse.
That was wow.
Wow.
Sorry.
I feel more official. If that makes you feel any better. I definitely feel more.
I think more people think that than we think they do. But if everybody knew, then the jig would be up.
It's
I
like-
invite them
Gotta
to
keep
come
it a
on the
secret.
show and see how
How
much we're
nuts.
actually doing things.
Yes.
Drooling behind the camera every 10 seconds.
I mean, that's how you got to do it. That's how you got to do it.
It's not a tightly run ship.
So what inspired you to take up photography in the first place?
Oh, wow.
Let's kick this off.
It actually
properly.
started, funny enough, as an accident or like a last minute impulse. So I've been writing for a very long time, ever since I was a kid, and I kind of just needed like a new outlet or new hobby. I kind of was getting a little burnt out from writing, and it was
wow.
weird. Like one day, it was like I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. I was going to the beach, and I hadn't touched the camera since maybe 2015. This was 2016 or 17, and I just saw a camera back lying like on the floor. Wasn't even looking for it. And I go, oh, I was looking for something new. I just brought the camera. I go, why not? I'll play around and shoot with it. I'm probably not gonna end up doing much with it, but I'll just play around with it. And I just went and I really liked getting in the mood of a photographer. Like the images I got back, which was I was realizing that I had a perspective that I didn't know I had. And I took a photography class because I was in school at the time and I needed this elective. And I thought, oh, photography, I have a camera, why not? And I just kept like learning more about the craft, and I kept going out there. And I just kind of realized something about it just kind of clicked. Like it's kind of like when you like play an instrument, there's something about it just fits with you, and you just kind of realize it becomes an extension, and that's
I
what
don't,
kind
I
of
don't
became.
know that.
You don't know that feeling?
No, I don't.
Well, I hope
I've
one
been
day you do realize the
I
feeling.
hope,
I hope
so.
one day.
I
it
really
does.
hope so too. It's been quite a long time.
Maybe
Quite a
20
long
years
time.
down the line.
Yeah, somewhere.
We'll give it like a good solid 15, right?
Thank you. Yeah, a nice tight 15
There you go.
years.
Right? I have faith in you, Brian. I have faith in you.
Thank you. You are the only one. So, so basically you started not that long ago.
Yeah,
so
it's
do you
been
have
2 years now.
any specific like influences, like photographer type influences? You know, anyone whose work you sort of look to?
It's interesting you guys say that because my influences are kind of like Asbury Park itself is a big influence on my work a lot. I mean, in the obvious sense, but also just the cultural and like the artistic impact. But it's kind of interesting. I kind of, whenever I shoot, whether it's a photo, like whether it's shows or people or anything, I kind of go by the way people react in the environment, if that makes sense. Like I'll take a notice of where I am and the vibe of the room and like the energy I feel, and I kind of transfer that into the photos. Like say I'm shooting like the Saint, like there's a very distinct energy to the Saint, so I try to channel that whenever I'm like shooting there. Say that like I'm in the city, I try to channel that energy and I try to transfer it to whatever work I do. So it's interesting. Like, photographer-wise, there's so many great photographers in town. I mean, you have David Rossalon, you have WaterMark, and I always like to see other photographers' works and just kind of get ideas, inspiration. But it's great that we have this community, and of course, my editor Elyse is a great photographer as well. Just to have this community and have all of us kind of like contribute unique perspectives, but all be part of one whole, I think is very unique and definitely has inspired and motivated me tremendously.
Excellent. And how you started mentioning. A couple of rooms in town and stuff like that, like the Saint. Obviously, when you're a photographer in town or just around any type of music or art scene, like everybody's kind of dying to get in front of a lens.
Of course, absolutely.
Us dying to get in front of a lens?
No way.
I wouldn't know anything about it.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I haven't photographed you guys before, right? You're still fresh.
Yeah, that's but how have your interactions with the community been, just in general?
I would say pretty positive, surprisingly. It's interesting. When I first started going to shows, I had no idea what the experience was going to be like. I kind of did it on an impulse, and I didn't really know how successful it was going to be. But it's been shocking how many people have like reached out for photos, or how the more I kept going, the more kind of like people recognize me. Like I'm getting to a point now where like I'm starting to meet people who I've only seen once or twice, or maybe just had like a passing interaction with who've recognized me as, oh, you take photos, oh, I saw you here. And it's interesting how, because I thought, oh, there's so many photographers in town, like I wasn't sure who was going to notice me and who wasn't. But it's interesting how like everyone in this town kind of like is supporting one another, and how like it's been positive though. I definitely think that I felt very encouraged. I definitely think that it's interesting how collaborative this scene is too. Like I noticed like it's not just a matter of, oh, we kind of like photos, we kind of like this. Everyone's trying to build each other up and kind of showcase each other's talents. So that has been really powerful and inspiring, and really has helped me kind of realize how to network and build resources and build for myself. So that definitely has been impactful.
Excellent. Now, how important is it for you to, obviously you mentioned Elyse, you mentioned David Rossalon, you think of, a guy like Jeff Crespi, who's been around
legend,
forever,
absolutely.
There's certain photographers with their own very specific style.
Of course,
like
and
you
that's
could
like the
kind of
beauty of
look
it.
and you say, okay, yeah, no, that looks like
Oh,
David,
yeah,
that looks
100%,
like Jeff.
100%.
How important is it to you to, impart your own style into your photographs, where it becomes that instant, oh, that's one of Kenny's photos?
It's definitely very important, absolutely. And that's something that I've been trying to figure out, I think, most recently, is how do I get my style to be kind of distinctive of me and representative of me.
Yeah.
And I think that what makes my work stand apart is that it's very, and this kind of sounds cliche, but it's very intimate, and I think it's very much, very like candid. I think that I try to kind of keep it a little raw, because I know, like, not to knock anyone's work, but I know some photographers, like, they like to kind of capture, like, the beauty and the essence, and I kind of like to capture, like, the raw, you're in the moment kind of chaos of it all, but also try to kind of offer juxtapositions of, like, the loudness or, like, the bombastic moments of a show, but also the quieter ones. Because when you go to a concert or a show, it's kind of like a very, like, a roller coaster. Like, you have the moments of, like, which is the maximum intensity and energy. You have the quieter moments where, like, someone slows down or interacts. So you have, like, that one shared moment. So I try to capture that as best as possible. Obviously, each experience is different, but I definitely try to impart that into the work as much as possible.
Yeah, and I think if I could venture an opinion, I think your best work that I've seen so far does, I mean, even if you just kind of look at each of these three,
Look a little familiar, right?
you tend to kind of capture like the expressiveness of the subject of your photos.
Big objective on my part.
Yeah, I mean, even each of us here kind of have on different faces and stuff. It's kind of compelling when you, like, it seems like you excel best, like,
kind of right up close.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and the funny part was that a lot of people, when I showed them my work, go, "Oh, like you like close-ups a lot." And at first, I didn't even know what they meant. They go, "Oh, what do you mean? Like you like the faces?" And I was like, "Ah, I didn't really think about it." And then I kept shooting more and more. And then one day I was just editing photos and I realized, like, wow, I really like people's eyes and their facial expressions. I didn't really know why at first.
Yeah.
But I think the reason is that when performing music, like, obviously it's an emotional activity because you're just putting so much of yourself out there. And I love seeing people's faces when they're in the middle of that moment or middle of giving. So I think that has been a big motif in my work.
I like that. In the middle of giving.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
it's really cool. And it's hard to capture. It's something that, like, I always challenge of getting, and it was the hardest thing for me to get when I was like starting out, because I would just get a lot of like generic kind of like, oh, this is a cool like guitar pick, but I couldn't really get that like that moment like that. This is someone's essence. But I think lately it's just been like so exciting to kind of capture people in that middle of that.
Well, that's great. Did you have something?
No,
You guys
I was
have
just,
anything?
I kind of perked up the same time as you did, the kind of middle of giving thing. Like, I don't know. That was just it. I'm very, I don't know, into all of this stuff that you're saying.
Oh, thank you.
I just find, for me, the photography of the scene is interesting because I don't know if it's a purposeful. I don't know how much the photographers. Whenever we bring them on, we try to like. It's hard to intellectualize it because it's just you take a picture.
Well, it's so subjective.
And I think
everybody's motivation
Matt
is so different.
Responti, I don't know if he said it on air, but Matt Responti says like the way you become a photographer is you just shoot 10,000 photos and then
Pretty
shoot
much,
20,000
absolutely.
photos.
You can never know what it's gonna be like until you just go out and do it. And
But-
I've learned that the hard way and easy way.
Yeah, no, and then suddenly you realize like, oh, I have been exploring that. Do you think of yourself as shooting the action of a moment, or do you think of yourself as just capturing the personality of what's being projected? Because I feel like Responti is very good at action. Like you see the moment that's happening, whereas I feel like you're kind of trying in a way to get the deeper feelings underneath. Is that something you think about at all, or no?
It is. I mean, depending on the show, because some shows, like sometimes people are more action than personality driven, so you do have to adapt. You know, it is something where you can never, and also like playing, so you can never guarantee what crowd you're going to play to, or what venue you're going to play to. So you do have to adjust your energy. But I definitely want to capture the deeper aspect of, because I've gone to know a lot of the people I photograph individually. So once I get to know them deeper, it's like I want to capture their personalities, like the smile, like the energy, like the intimacy, like just the intensity, the rawness. I want to capture all of that. So I think it's a little bit of a mixture of both, but I like to capture, personality is a big one. I like to capture, if I can, someone's essence and their relationship to whatever they're doing in that moment, because I think that gives you a much more deeper understanding of who these people really are.
For sure. I have a question, actually. I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking about this with someone of like, oh, why don't you do photography? And I was like, there's so many photographers in the scene. Like, I can name like 10 of them off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've always found like 5 new ones whenever I go out. There's always someone, and I love it because it's like someone else is like adding a unique perspective to like the town I love. So it's cool to see like what they, and also they give me inspiration. I'm like, oh, you're doing that? I want to try and do that too.
Just like how all these different people see the same thing that everyone
It's
is
crazy
seeing.
too, because like I'll see photos of the same show I was at. I was like, wow, I didn't even think to get that shot at that moment. That's crazy. It's cool. It's exciting.
Absolutely. I was just gonna ask what's something that you're doing that might put you apart from everyone else as well.
I like that question.
Yeah.
I definitely think that going back to the expressive part, I think I'm trying to capture not just like a show, but I think an artist and their relationship to the moment, or like an artist like in their environment. Like I think my biggest thing is I like capturing people in their most natural environment. Like whenever I do a photo shoot that's not music, I'm like, tell me some place that inspires you and we'll go there. Because I think people work the best when they're in their element, because then you see everything that you need to see. Like people go, oh, do you pose? I'm like, oh no, I just let them be who they are, and then eventually I will see what I need to kind of see. And that's what I do in music. I'm like, let me just observe your behavior, and then let me capture you in those cycles or in those images. And then that's kind of like when influencing my style a lot, is just seeing people in their most natural environment and just trying to capture them as much as possible in that.
For sure. And I also know that you're doing that the project where you're photographing different female artists in the
I am,
scene.
yes. That's been going on pretty
So-
steadily. I've been liking. That's been a very fun, fascinating process.
I don't know. I just wanted to touch on that for a second.
Yeah,
like,
by
how's
all
that
means.
been going?
It's been good. I mean, it has been pretty steadily, a little more slower than expected, just because it's so many artists doing so many things. But I mean, the interactions I've had with people have just been very impactful. I mean, it's definitely been exciting to kind of see people, because it's also people bringing me to their place of inspiration. So I get to kind of see like part of their process, like, and get to see them outside of a venue, like. You kind of learn more about them, and you kind of get a deeper understanding of like not just like what makes them perform, what makes them a person, what motivates them. And that, you don't always get to know that when you see someone on stage. Like you get a glimpse of it, but it's just so much going on. But it definitely has given me a deeper insight into the artists and how hard they work, because it's extremely hard. And I think that the images are definitely some of the ones I'm the most proud of, just because it's fascinating and it's different, and just gives me more an appreciation for how much work and how motivated these people really are.
Nice.
Excellent. And now, as we wrap ourselves up, what types of opportunities do you see yourself creating just for yourself?
Wow,
in the future.
That's a very good question.
Because you're sort of you're kind of the new kid.
I am
right
the new
now.
kid, yeah, and it's fun being the new kid, but it's definitely challenging. I would definitely love to gain more deep relationships with bands. I mean, do more promo work, just capture more live moments is definitely something I always want to do because I love just shooting live shows, like the rusty excitement. But I'd love to go on tour one day and just capture somebody on tour just to kind of see like them in a different city or an environment and just kind of get that experience and travel with it to take it to that level. Because I always, whenever I get into something, I always want to take it as far as I can, depending on how willing my environment lets me. And also just to capture people, just to get to progress, I think is my biggest objective, is to not necessarily always be perfect, but progressing. I think to definitely to make sure that, like, say I shoot a show last week, am I better than 2 weeks ago? Am I better than 4 weeks ago? Just to kind of expand my talent and just absolutely and master my medium and just be the best I can possibly be. Yeah, that's all I can ask for, all I can hope.
Excellent. Well, when OneMore takes this show on the road, you will be the first phone call.
Oh,
we make.
I'm very excited.
Absolutely.
I can't wait. Am I going to be on speed
the
dial?
20-city tour.
Yeah,
I'm
one
excited.
more.
I'm excited. Will there be Mogo on the tour? I just really want to know.
Of course we're
There's
gonna
gonna be,
be
yeah.
Mogo.
That's the one thing I was sad about. I walked
in
in
a
and didn't see
Mogo
it.
van on tour.
I really
Yeah.
would be so down for that.
That would be.
I really want to.
Matt, can we make that happen?
I really want to get in on
How
that.
much money can we get for that?
So.
If I can contribute, I will. Trust me. I'll bankroll
Yes.
that Mogo
Good.
truck.
Oh,
I'll help you guys out with your dream.
Now, before we get out of here, tell our viewers where they can find
Oh,
your
absolutely.
work. And we didn't get to talk about Stars and
Right
Stars,
into the
but
camera.
we're obviously going to end up talking
I know,
a
yep.
whole lot about that. And
Oh, yeah, a
when we
wonderful
bring Elyse
conversation.
up.
Yeah.
So,
I go right into the camera and just
yeah, go for
sell
it.
myself. Awesome. I've been waiting all year for
Sell
this.
yourself.
You can find me on Instagram under K94 Photography. I'm also on Facebook. And those are the two main platforms right now, but definitely want to try to branch out definitely in the future. And yeah, those are the two main places. You can also catch me writing at starsandscars.com. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm Bieber Kenny, and you can find me from there.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Oh.
Wow. All
Oh,
right.
I see what you were doing there.
Yeah,
That was
see
clever.
that?
That was funny.
Kenny Bieber, thank you so much.
Brian
It's
Erickson,
been
a
great.
pleasure. Jesse, a pleasure.
Again.
Christopher, a pleasure.
Kenny Bieber, ladies and gentlemen. Ain't he just the cutest?
Been waiting weeks to have him on.
We've been waiting literally days to have him on. One More with Brian Erickson is sponsored by You Don't Know Jersey, owned and operated by Allison Ed Maziak. You Don't Know Jersey's been bringing its readers all the best in Garden State sports, music, art, film, and culture for nearly a decade. Hey, Lindsay, would you like to learn about the inner workings of a corrupt government that uses the plight of climate change to disenfranchise the working class? Then read something else, because they don't get political on You Don't Know Jersey unless you count Taylor Ham versus Pork Rolls political, which I do. So whether you're in High Point, Cape May, or anywhere in between, visit youdon'tknowjersey.com for all the latest. Because you don't know Jersey, let me tell you guys, you just fucking don't know Jersey. Ryan,
I don't even know where that went. What happened?
it's magic.
She is the founder of Stars and Scars. Let us welcome Elyse Jankowski.
Yeah, it's an obstacle course.
Hello. I guess you're over on this seat now?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I was told to scoot, and I did.
Excellent.
So here we are. Hello.
Yeah, Matt just kind of yells stage direction at us from off camera as we're going on. It's a balancing act to keep
It
the
keeps
show running.
everything kind of fresh.
Yeah, you know.
You never know what's going on.
Chris, what are you doing?
I have no idea anymore.
Elyse, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you so much for having
Thank
us.
you, friends.
So, I went back, I read some of the old gems. I guess there's an old gems section on Stars and Scars, and please let me compliment your Try the Walkmen recommendation from like
Nice.
2004.
Nice.
They are one of my favorite bands. We've Been Had is an excellent song, and the Walkmen are better than the Strokes.
You might think that's a hot take, but the Strokes are not that good of a
No,
band.
no, they're not.
They're really
I
not.
just really like the Walkmen a
Yeah,
lot,
I don't
and it
know
was
the
kind of
Walkmen,
like, oh, they're great.
Yeah.
They're like the Strokes, except the guy can actually sing.
Can I do a hot take about the Strokes real quick and
Yeah.
then move on? Arctic Monkeys are everything people think the Strokes are. Carry on.
I could. Yeah, I mean, it's a bunch
I
of
can
a
get behind
table
that.
full of music folks. Do we agree with that?
Yeah.
I vote yes for that. I'll
Also
upvote
yes.
that.
All right.
That's
you
fair.
you gonna give that a thumbs up?
fair.
All right, cool. We got it.
Wow.
That's all.
All right. So, in I guess the late '90s, early 2000s, you saw two shows. You saw Phoenix TX when you were 13, and Stick Figure Suicide when you were 15. What was it about those shows
that changed the way you experienced music?
Wow, man. Well, prior to this time, I was all about NSYNC, Hanson, bubblegum, pop, boy bands, teenage craziness. So I'd never been to a real show, so to speak, of local bands. So the Phoenix TX show was at Club Benet, which became Club Chrome, which has been closed for a while now. But
Perth
if you
Amboy,
remember
right?
that venue,
Or
it was
South Amboy?
awesome, and they hosted amazing bands all the time. So I just remember my mom took us. Shout out to Mom, I love you so much. My mom took me to every Warped Tour, like a bajillion shows, and was amazing. So she brought my friends and I to that show, sat in the back and read a book, God bless her, while we went up to the pit. We didn't even know
Wait,
what the
did
pit
she was in the venue? Like
she
she
was
didn't
in
like
the
just
venue
hang out in
reading
the
a book.
car?
Oh, no,
Wow.
no.
There's
She
pictures, like
surveyed
there's
the
like
scene.
collections of that on Tumblr of like
Yeah.
parents in the back of
Like
Justin
punk rock
Bieber
parents.
shows. It's really
I was at a
amazing.
show yesterday at the brewery where I was standing behind a mom who was kind of sitting on one of those square things. I don't know, couches.
pallets?
Just like
Really?
a pallet.
Yeah.
Just like on her phone reading like news articles the entire time. I have no idea how she didn't run out of the brewery.
Who's playing?
It's Cindy Gish. She's
I
from
don't know
she's
who
from
that is.
Boston. It was a lot of youngins there. I haven't been to a show in a very long time where people were there with their parents.
Youngins.
Yeah, they were like
The youths?
under 20 people.
What was great, like, about my mom, though, is as time went on and my interest in music expanded, especially in local shows and, like, punk rock kind of stuff, she got into it, too.
Oh.
So
Oh,
it
yeah.
became, like, not like, oh, I have to take Elyse to another show, but, like, we would rock out together, and we still do. We actually saw Kiss last week.
Oh wow!
and
how was it?
the
Everybody
Rolling
saw
Stones
that.
a couple
A
of
lot of
weeks ago.
people were at that Kiss show.
It
How
was
that?
unbelievable.
Let's Kiss.
It was the biggest spectacle I've ever seen.
that
in my
Madison
life.
Square Garden?
So that was Prudential Center,
Oh,
the
okay.
one that we saw.
Because
Still,
my friend
yeah.
saw it at Madison Square Garden and we're like, yeah, that was the best thing ever.
It was
Thing.
It's Kiss.
insane. But yeah, like, those two shows especially really showed me a world that I didn't know existed prior to that point, and just opened me up to a subculture of wonderful, fantastic, crazy people that I came to love.
Did you feel more at home
Absolutely.
there? Like among,
Absolutely.
you know, you kind of felt like you found, I guess, you know, sort of a community
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to, you know, NSYNC and Hanson and stuff. Which, by the way, I will defend that first Hanson album, Middle of Nowhere.
And they're
produced by the
still
Dust Brothers.
playing.
Like, come
Yeah,
on. And they
like,
still, like, yeah, they still
They're
bring
like
it.
shit.
Did
Yeah.
Dust Brothers produced that?
Yeah.
That I did not know.
See?
Carry on. Why would I know about Hanson? They were like right before I was like aware of boy bands. Like they were like right then. Like by the time like I had become like the age group that someone would be listening to boy bands, it was like kind of already.
Well,
over.
that's. I mean, there's a. I think you and I are around the same age, so yeah, that would make sense. That would kind of hit us around that time, and
Yeah.
you know, you were like another decade.
Yeah, I was just kind of
I don't even
behind
know.
it.
What was? I guess you know what was
In the
what-
mid 2000s, there
Yeah.
really weren't like.
I
One
mean, I
Direction?
was still listening.
Like-
No, One Direction
They
wasn't
came
until I was
later.
in like
That
high
was
school.
later,
high
yeah.
school,
Yeah.
college.
Holy
Now there's those BTS guys, and I still don't know what the hell's going on there, but I'm very interested in it.
Oh, the K-pop deal?
Yeah, what are
Yeah.
they?
Oh, they're just a-
I'm gonna
they're just a
find them. I'm
K-pop
going to
group.
fight them. I'm going to find out what they're talking about. 'Cause
You're
I'm
not
like,
gonna win.
"Want to bet?"
Yeah, actually.
There's like 15 of them.
Yeah.
Are there?
Yeah,
there's a lot
There's
of
so
them.
many
There's a
guys.
lot
Because
of
there are
bands.
so many K-pop groups that are just like 20 people.
It's like Boys 12.
It's
that
ridiculous.
American Dad sketch.
Yeah, exactly.
There's 12 boys in the band.
Yes.
And they quit because then Boys 13 comes out. You know that classic bit on American Dad?
Yeah, an American Dad.
know.
The show that
So-
everyone loves so much.
So Stars and Scars began shortly after that stick figure show. I'm so sorry, by the way.
I know you guys. I love you guys. Like, it's all good.
I write for her,
darling.
kind of, sort of. She knows what she was getting into.
Okay.
She
So-
accidentally tagged my Twitter when I released my first thing. It's like, you probably want to untag
No.
that. You don't want, they think, oh, this is cool, let's follow this writer. And then it's like, oh my
no,
God.
you don't want that. So, so you're killing me. So that's it. One of these that you're gonna get me to. I'm just gonna walk right off.
Keep to the script.
Yes. So it began shortly after the stick figure show. Did you? Was there any preparation? Like, what in your mind kind of was like, oh, I want to start a zine in the early 2000s? Like, what kind of went into that thought process?
Not much. No,
Well, yeah,
I
'cause you were like, we said you were 15 at the time, so
Yeah.
that's a pretty ambitious undertaking.
I think when I learned how awesome this community was, I wanted to get involved. And I'm not a musician. I later did very briefly and very horribly play drums in a band. That's another story. But at the time, I certainly wasn't a musician. I wasn't sure what I could do to like be a bigger part of this rather than just attending a show, which was fun enough. But I wanted to support bands further, especially local bands who maybe wouldn't have press in Rolling Stone or Spin or what have you. So for whatever reason, the idea of a zine came to my head, and I asked a friend if he wanted to help me at the time to do it. And I think the first thing that we ever did was we went out on the streets of Red Bank and just started talking to punk rock kids about what music they liked. And it was like a man on the street, literally, like, interview. And that's how we met people and made friends and started going to shows and interviewing.
Yeah, remember when Red Bank
bands.
was like kind of cool and dirty?
That's what it was.
It
Yeah.
was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And now
it
it's
was
just like-
gritty.
Yeah,
It
now it's
was.
just like upscale clothing places that are open for 18 months and then gone forever. Again and again and again.
Yeah, coming soon to Asbury Park.
Oh,
To that point, like, I feel like I say all the time that, like, I'm so grateful for the time that I grew up in, that we grew up in.
Yeah.
For music, it was so special. And for me to be young at that time and to have access to these bands that maybe, a couple years later you didn't have access to. Like, one of my favorite interviews ever was at Convention Hall, Skate and Surf Festival 2004, My Chemical Romance, just like hanging backstage with Gerard Way for like an hour. Just the two of us, like, shooting it. And I was like, I was like 17. Think of you 17 and like how that would feel and how words would
I
even
think
come out of
Jesse's
your
feeling
mouth.
it like right now.
Jesse's feeling it at 25.
Can I ask? I often wonder about that particular generation of emo. Were they just like wearing that all the time, or was that just like stage costumes?
yeah, no,
they
that
were- that
was
was just
all
what
the
they were
time.
doing. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I mean, those are cool jackets, but I can't imagine like wearing that casually.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It
Frank,
was-
wasn't there just a Hard Times article that was like Frank Iero, like, has no, like, at the laundromat, like, has no other clean clothes
Except
so he
for the
wears-
jacket.
Except for the jacket, right? Wasn't it something like that?
Some kind of dumb shit.
This is
like
really
yeah,
good.
yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to think that like there is. I mean, I wonder if there is something going on now because you kind of see the generations. But like that was the first time that there was like a generation where you could, because of the internet, because of these zines, they were able to get far and wide. Like there were bands like My Chemical Romance that right before they blew up, they were just playing around here.
Yeah.
And then suddenly a year and a half later they were huge.
Yeah.
And like you look back, it's like, oh yeah, these were just guys that I knew and I hung out with and talked to and like wanted to get their opinion, and then they became a band that changed music.
Yeah.
And like that was the first generation where you could kind of find out about them right before they hit, even if they weren't from around your area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember those, like, going on those, like, punk rock message boards, like, pre-Facebook.
Ryan, were you punk?
NJC.
No, I used to do. There was like a South Jersey one called Punk's Haven,
Okay.
and I don't know, they got a little too pretentious.
There was also Punk Savin',
my-
which was a flea market for punks only.
You're fired, Chris.
Finally.
So
I'm free.
but how did you get this this zine circulated? Because it started. These were print copies.
Yeah.
These weren't just on the web like they are now. So what's how did that? Did you like just copy machine and Kinko's?
This is a God bless my mom again moment. Thank you, mother. And
What's your mom's name?
apologies, Donna.
Donna.
Thank you, Donna.
Apologies
Thank you, Donna.
To her former boss. My mom is an amazing teacher and has been in the game for a while. So we would go after hours to her school and hijack the copy machine
Oh,
for
wow.
a long time
Hell yeah.
without
You
telling
said,
anyone.
and you said she was a
So-
teacher.
Yeah,
That's your
sorry.
tax dollars at
we
work,
don't do that
guys.
anymore. We totally don't do that anymore. Full disclosure.
Man, still
but
from the
we
government.
did.
They don't need it.
No, I mean I'm not.
Yeah, it was.
fine.
It was thanks to Hazlitt school system that Stars and Scars actually became a thing, and with the internet kind of like just really coming to be, and you had MySpace at this time, and like independent record stores were still fairly around
Yeah.
and active and hadn't all closed, unfortunately, at this point. So I would just hustle. I would literally go to local record stores. I would email them or call them. Stars and Scars ended up getting sold in 9 states at different record stores just by me reaching out and saying, hey, I have this project, like, would you support it? And they're like, yeah, of course.
How does that make you feel? Like,
It was
essentially
incredible.
Distribution in 9 states?
Yeah,
Like,
as a kid, and especially like being a kid,
How
at the
old
time.
were you at the time?
I mean, we
at
started
this
getting
point?
circulation like when I was 17, like 17, 18. Yeah. So it was incredible. And again, like to be interviewing these bands that even though they weren't huge at the time, like My Chem, Fall Out Boy, Starting Line, like I loved those bands. They may not have been big like in the stratosphere to the point that they became, but at that point, like they were in my heart. I know you understand.
I do. I really do.
So it was like overwhelming.
Sorry, don't laugh at me.
So-
This is my
I
favorite.
know,
We're
I'm-
kindred,
I'm not
like,
laughing
Yes.
at,
get
I'm
it.
laughing with.
So-
Good. Okay, good.
Oh yeah, no, nobody laughs at.
Yeah, I don't look.
On
The
this,
thing
on
was,
this
I was
Yeah,
not.
Chris would never laugh at me ever.
I don't laugh at you. I laugh with you, and I insult you on Twitter. These are different things.
You insult me to my face
Also,
in real
yes.
life.
But yeah, there is this thing. Is like there was a generation. I wonder how much the music of the actual generation and the music they were making influenced how they became big in that way. Like, how was it that My Chemical Romance, which I kind of use as a broad example, like that was.
I mean, yeah, but you could use any,
Yeah, but-
Coheed, Dashboard, and I mean,
Like, how much was it that they were saying something different that people who were doing things like these zines is what made them that big? Like, do you ever like think about?
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I think
It's
it
kind
was.
of a weird question.
I think it was the right message at the right time to the right generation, and that's
Absolutely.
basically what you were saying before. And like, I don't take it for granted whatsoever. I am so blessed to have had incredible experiences at a young age, and to still be doing this thing at least on an online capacity. We're not print anymore. Like, that's unbelievable.
would you ever consider bringing it back
I don't
in
know.
print? Thinking about how the idea, you were saying there were a lot of record stores that closed down and stuff, but that market seems to have stabilized itself a bit because people buy vinyl now again. So any of those old like used CD stores and stuff, now everybody stocks vinyl. So it kind of swung back around the other way, and like, places like Vintage Vinyl or Jack's,
Where we were
in
sold
Red
at, by
Bank.
the way. Thank you, Vintage Vinyl.
Yeah. Oh, they're great
Shout
up
out
there.
Vintage Vinyls. That's a legendary
Oh,
location.
I love that place. I like accidentally met the guy from Sum 41 there. Like, I didn't realize they were doing a signing, and I just kind of like, he was like getting his table set up. I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to,
And it was
I
just a dude from Sum
I was looking
41.
for like a King Crimson album. It was right near the prog rock section.
That's where I put some 41. Yeah.
But yeah, no, the point is, do you ever envision it coming back like in as a print copy, now that it seems like, the record stores that were around that have kind of held seem to be, kind of in a decent place?
I've actually never thought of it, to be quite honest with you. But that's a great point. And I think part of the reason, like, why record stores are coming, but like, everybody loves nostalgia. That's why Stars and Scars still exists. Like, part of my soul always wants to live like in that point in time, and that's why bands are doing 20th anniversary shows and 25th anniversary shows, because we remember how that felt, and that was priceless to me. So I'm not sure if I would ever do it print again. I think there's some value to that. I think that people, even if it was just like a one-time thing.
Yeah,
you
or I
know,
think like how
special.
Pitchfork does their quarterlies.
Right, like a special
Something,
kind of thing.
yeah, like a special.
Maybe
yeah.
we'll put it out to the public. Is that something you'd like to see? See what
Is that
what
something
everybody
you'd like
can
to
see.
Comment below.
Call in.
We gotta do it. I'll make that happen. Oh, hey, Dave Barker.
Hi.
So, good, he's here. He owes me a shirt. Yeah, you
There
guys
it
aren't the
is.
only ones getting shirts today. Oh, wow. This is, thank you.
Amazing.
Shot it out of the t-shirt cannon. AP Porch Fest
Oh, hell yeah.
2019.
Yay.
So, anyway, you kind of took your foot off the gas from 2010 to 2017. Why stop?
So we had at that point, in the time frame since Stars and Scars started to the time when I went to college, that's when things like kind of really started to change in the music industry. Like downloading, stream, like all of that like really came to a head, and you could see that the industry was changing. I also am such an academic person, like loved school, was all about school. So I really wanted to put my focus on college when I was there. So it was easier to make Stars and Scars on the web only and kind of stop doing print at that point because I could manage it like way easier.
Well, that kind of mirrors when you said you went to the Phoenix TX show and then you waited 2 years because I remember reading you said, well, you wanted to prepare from that transition from middle school into high school. So that's kind of an interesting mirror to say, okay, well then as high school sort of gave way to college, gave way to, I guess like adulthood.
Yeah.
That you would once again step back.
And even the transition of graduating from college, I got a job right away out of college in the city. That was like super overwhelming to me to sort of be thrust into that corporate lifestyle. And at that point, I felt like I wanted to run shows. So Stars and Scars as a magazine kind of took a break, and Stars and Scars, the concert promotion company, was born and lived for like 2 years or so doing shows out of local firehouses and churches and things like that. So it's
So still
definitely
keeping
evolved.
with that DIY.
Yeah, keeping with the DIY, keeping with wanting to support local bands and sort of give them the exposure that they deserve, just in different ways. Shows started getting funky. Unfortunately, we had some kids like vandalize the venues and just really like nonsense things happened that obviously affected our relationships with the venue owners and stuff that we were using their space. So that just kind of, to me, felt like it came to a natural close. I was like, you know what? I think the Stars and Scars chapter is closing. I was really I had left my job in the city. I was like, I cannot do this. I can't do the city commute thing. Kind of had to pick myself up by my bootstraps, get a job closer to home, and figure out what the heck I was going to do with my life. So I honestly never thought Stars and Scars would start again. I thought that was the end of the era, and we were just going to remember it and cherish it as it was.
Yeah, and then you brought it back in 2017, 2 years ago.
Yeah, I kind of had an existential crisis, lying on my floor, crying in Georgia. I was living outside of Atlanta, Georgia at the time, and I was going back through, I keep everything, again, like nostalgia. Like I have all the old back issues of Stars and Scars. I have emails that people sent me, like, I read the magazine, I loved it. Like, I just sort of kept all that stuff in files on my computer, and I was going through the files, and I read what people said about how much they loved this magazine. And I didn't remember that. Like, that wasn't something that I just kept in my mind bank. So when I read it over, like, I started to cry, and I was like, this was actually a really special thing. Not just to me, but to a lot of people. Like, I wonder if I could do it again. And it just became as that little, like, I wonder thought. And even at that point, I was like, nah. But it just kept growing, like, in my soul. I was like, I have to do this. I have to do this again, and let's just see what happens. And it's become sort of this whole new experience, because before, Stars and Scars was very much the Elyse show, honestly, to keep it real. Like, I did most of the writing. I did, like, almost everything for it with very small volunteer staff. But this next go round, I really wanted the staff to shine. I didn't want to shine. So to build up an international staff, we have people who write and do photography from all over the country as well as in the UK, is almost even more exciting and gratifying to me than the amazing experiences I had as a kid, because now it's for other people.
Excellent.
It's awesome.
And I think that's a perfect way to end this. Thank you so much, Elyse.
I planned it that way.
So flawless.
Love you guys so much.
Thank you.
Elyse Jankowski.
I got to plug in a bunch of stuff. Grab that one.
Okay.
Matt,
Put it over here. Should I keep my picture on that on the piano? That's fun. All right. Get the heck out of my way. I got batteries.
Sorry.
Hey.
Do you need a microphone?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll use yours. Hey. How's it going? OneMore is brought to you by the Asbury Park Music Foundation. APMF raises money to support youth music programs throughout Asbury Park that provide lasting skills, self-confidence, and life-changing experiences for underserved kids in our community. This includes funding for the Hip Hop Institute at the Boys and Girls Club of Monmouth, in-school music programs at Hope Academy, scholarships for kids to attend Lake House Music Academy. APMF also hosts concert series throughout the year, whether it's Music Mondays at Springwood Park or Asbury Park Live over the summer, Suburbia Friday nights, or the Sunday Songwriter Series. APMF always has something going on. Check out their calendar for more details. Thank you, Chris. Nah, you're good. And if you're interested in making a meaningful difference in the community or keeping Asbury Park's legacy of music alive, head to asburyparkmusiclives.org to make a donation. And while you're there, pick up a Music Saved Asbury Park t-shirt. All proceeds make it possible to support the Music Saved My Life youth music programs. One More with Brian Erickson is also brought to you by Bordentown Guitar Rescue. Founded by certified luthier Mike Vierock, Bordentown Guitar Rescue has been building, modifying, customizing, and repairing stringed instruments since 2012. Why wait a month for a basic setup from one of the big retailers when Bordentown Guitar Rescue has the quickest turnaround time in the state? So whether you've split your headstock, cracked your binding, or there's a crackle in your jack, call certified luthier Mike Vierock for an estimate. Bordentown Guitar Rescue. Fix it, Vierock. And now, without further ado, I give you Dust of Days!
I don't know if Mike is, he was supposed to be here tonight, but he couldn't make it. But yeah, if he's watching, you better fix it. All right, this song's called Little Angel.
Little angel on my wall, tender wings made of straw. Look up to heaven, oh, look up to heaven. Look up to heaven, oh, look up to heaven. Little angel on my wall, heart and lungs that build us all. Illuminate, oh, ruminate. Illuminate, oh, ruminate. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All I want is to live. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mr. Jim McGee on guitar. So this next song is called Thief, and I actually wrote it when Brian and I were touring with, actually we were getting our album mastered for the Paper Jets back in 2012. The Paper Jets. It's called Thief, and I wrote it when we were at that hotel in Nashville, if you remember that hotel, Brian, but no, Scotty wasn't there.
The steam keeps on rising, the fires burn bright. The wolf's on the hunt again, under cover of night. So beware, my children, there's a thief on the run. Tangled and woven, such a twisted web he spun. The glitter and the glitz, all forged from heretics. So beware, my children, there's a thief on the run. Been given a number, been given a name. Yes, your enemy.
I like it, Joe. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm going to yell some events, and then Dustin Days is going to get back. Thank God. Happy Monday. All right, wait. This week's episode of Brian Erickson. What? Excuse me. I just had a brain aneurysm. I don't know what just happened to me. This week, Live Music Loyalty. Thank you. Excuse me. Monday, August 19th. Happy Monday. We're Ghost Now. Powerline Shimmy at the Wonder Bar. It's happening right now. It's free. Oh, Lindsay, you presented that. That's why you're here and not at the show. Tuesday, August 20th. Brian Kirk and the Jerks at the Asbury Hotel rooftop. Wednesday, August 21st. Happy birthday, David Hayes. Never forget. We love you, Dave. Asbury Live, featuring Brian Wood and Company, Vendetta Rose at the Mogo stage, 6:30 free. Thursday, August 22nd. The Foes of Fern with Tara Dente, Luke Dowler, and Christine Mitchell at the Saint. Save the event in the Live Music Loyalty app for a chance to win tickets. I'm playing 3 sets that night. Fern's playing 3 sets that night. It's going to be like the... Are you playing a set? Oh, yeah. Jesse's going to play with the Foes. It's going to be a crazy throwback night where we're all going to play a lot and sweat a bunch. Oh, Kale is doing a stand-up set at the Chubby Pickle on Thursday, so go heckle him. Jams on the Sand featuring Mystic Bowie's Talking Dreads and local band Secret Sound at Anchor's Bend. Friday, August 23rd. Happy birthday to my grandma. Grandma, if you ever watch this, I'm really sorry. Make It Sweet Tour, Old Dominion at the Stone Pony Summer Stage, Carl Denson's Tiny Universe at Asbury Lanes, Little Vicious, Damn Jackals, Candy Cavity at the Asbury Park Yacht Club. Saturday, August 24th, The Cold Seas, Psychotic Submarines at Langosta, 10 p.m., that's free. Dentist at the Seafarer Bar in Highlands, hopefully Matt's appendix isn't going to explode again. Shady Street Show Band at Jamian's. Ronette Smith's album release party is a pickle party. I think Alex Caliastro is also playing that one, correct me if I'm wrong. Sunday, August 25th, Des and Swagmatics at the Asbury Fest Hall and Beer Garden, 4 to 7 p.m., that's free. And I'm playing with Luke Dowler at the Bitter End in New York City at 9 p.m. Download the Live Music Loyalty app to find shows, connect with artists, and support your local music scene. Follow Live Music Loyalty's Spotify playlist called This Week in Asbury Park, which highlights tracks from all the artists playing in Asbury Park this week. As always, listen local. And a final note, Brian Erickson is a man, baby. Yeah, that's actually on the copy. And now, ladies and gentlemen, once again, Dust of Days! I have no idea.
Thank you, Chris. All right, so this song's called Halo. It was off of our first record. 1, 2. A halo wrapped around the moon, like fireflies in darkened rooms.
They said the winter had come soon, so put away your thoughts till June. The road ahead is filled with pain, far more than one man can take. Nails and blood will shield the shame and pour grace upon your window pane. So Jesus, take my hand and show us how to understand. A bullet screams towards the sun. Neither war nor battles have been won. It's easier to point the gun when the target is on the sun. A halo wrapped around the moon, like fireflies in darkened rooms. They said the winter had come soon, so put away your hopes till June. The road ahead is filled with pain, far more than one man can take. So Jesus, take our hand. So Jesus, take our hand and help us all to understand one another.
Take us home, Jim. So we got one more. Thank you. I want to thank the entire cast and crew of OneMore for having us here. And to our fellow guests, thank you very much. It's a pleasure hearing your stories as well. So this is actually our last song. This is a world premiere. It's never been played outside of my living room. And Jim's. The song is called Lighthouse.
She lived in a city by the coast, with crashing waves and pastel scenes, which slowly fade from memory. And he believed in a life after the last. No wounds from the past will bleed, till August came to set him free. And heaven knows I've been searching for a beacon in the night. But the lighthouse, it's gone vacant. When it used to shine so bright, so bright. Yeah, heaven knows I've been searching for a beacon in the night. But the lighthouse has gone vacant. When he used to shine so bright, so bright, so bright, so bright.
Thanks very much.
That was excellent. Excellent. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Nice to meet you too.
For letting me be in the Paper Jets now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, please.
For Elyse Jankowski, Kenny Bieber, Dust of Days, Jesse McCormick, Chris Dubrow, everybody here at the Asbury Park Music Foundation, and our fearless leader, Matt Smith of Drice Productions. What? What's so funny? What? I have been, I remain Brian Erickson. We'll see you next week. Good night.